Okay. According to YouTube, I am live. So, okay. I'm back. What do we got? Well, I got that shot done. 2 shots, actually. So, here's what we've got. I told you to get lost. I know. I was just leaving. Ah. Stupid kids. I say we get out of here. Yep. What about monkey? Okay, and then they hear a chirp. Right there. Cool. Alright, so that brings us up to speed. Okay, the most significant thing I learned today, and it is kind of a big deal actually. After doing the shot of this guy, I gotta say, compared to what I've been getting out of Tahoma2D versus basically using what amounts to a technical drawing pen on the ink here, the whole what is it? Oh, I can't remember. I always forget Ben's last name. But anyway, the Ben what's his face meets Alex Toth idea that's, you know, really bold black lines, but anyway, I gotta say the bottom line is I don't like this. This wiggliness. I mean, you could do post smoothing and stuff like that, but basically I'm not loving that. Now, I would say we could go through and fix this a bit. Probably should. Let's do that. Okay, so if we're going to do that, I'll bet you Blender 281 is not going to... Well, I guess it is going to run. Okay, so let me pull this up. If I was going to do this, what would I do? Oh, I would actually say, let's not isolate our layers. Turn that off. And what I think I would do if I'm going to try to make this situation a little better is I would turn on smooth here. So I'm affecting both the lines and the colors at the same time. This is the main thing that I'm finding to be a little bit, shall we say, egregious. So I'll just do this and see if I like it better. Another thing I did bump into that's not a big deal, but it is something to be aware of, is that in the earlier version of Blender, if you're zoomed in when you do the fill, it will stop filling at the top of the visible screen area, which is why you have this line here. Just saying. Okay, so here, this is where it's all going to fall apart, where it's like, if it's not going to work, this is why it's not going to work. It's not going to work because these 2 frames are... okay, I guess I got away with it. A little tweak there. Right there. Okay, let's keep rocking. So this is just a matter of, I say on strength, let's just crank it up so we don't have to go over it 50 times. So just smoothing that out should help. That's the only thing about it I wasn't liking. I dialed in the color because the lines were too bold, but we'll just do that, and then we'll come back to the other shot, the final shot with monkey. Getting a little bit of corruption there. Fortunately, it's just 1 frame, so it won't matter, but because he's in motion. So let's take this and hit Control F12. We'll just render that to the RAM drive, pull it back into Krita, re-render and see if we like it better. So poof, here we are. Oops, over here in Krita. Let's come back to this shot, and what we're doing is, this is actually deletable. Okay, so that's with the lighter ink lines, and what we're going to do is we're going to re-import our animation frames. and see if the smoother lines actually make us feel slightly better about this shot. Okay, so this would go here. Hold on, we may have a problem. Look closely. Yeah, see, that's the other thing. By lightening the lines, it's kind of weird the way Blender sort of resolved that to hard edges. I didn't really expect that, but that's okay. It doesn't affect the way it looks. This is actual size, so that's a pretty minor thing. I'm going with it. Let's turn this off. And let's just re-render. Control R. So it's not like this shot is sufficiently problematic to, like, you know, really go back and redo it and stuff, but it could be better. So here we go. Boom, boom. Yes, that's definitely an improvement. That's a little nicer, a little smoother. Okay, so there's that. But yeah, ink. I like what I'm seeing coming out of Tahoma, and frankly Krita, than Blender. So no big yank one way or the other, but there it is. Okay, so we can close this. I would say the return to Blender 2.81 is neither a good or a bad thing. It's just a thing. Okay, so what do we got? We're going to have this. So the way we're going to handle that is we're going to go to the RAM disk, delete everything, get it all out of there. Go back here, and all I want to do is take 1, 2. Okay, so just for the record, this pose is completely wrong. This doesn't really work. The way the kids are configured, they would have to be completely redrawn. As you can see, it would be Luca on the right, followed by Tia, and then Mel in the background is what it would be. So this is totally wrong. However, since we're here and have nothing better to do, let's take half a second and fiddle with this. How would I fix this? Well, like this. Go into edit mode. First thing I'm going to do is take Melchizedek and move him. Actually, let me do it like that and then hit L. Okay, so I'm going to move him off screen, and I'm going to hit scale X -1 because he's basically oriented the wrong way. Okay, he's going to be over here. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Undo. What did I say? If they basically flipped around, okay, so this would be shift X -1 as well. Oops. That would be more like there. He... Oh, I'm just trying to be careful not to select pieces of monkey. And as long as we're here, I don't mind carrying his dialogue over as well. Okay, so he would be actually here. Oh, come on. Linked. Rotate. So let's put her in the middle-ish. This is just for my own reference. What are we trying to achieve here with this particular shot? And that's pretty much it. I don't think I'm loving Tia because she's a little too small. And she's looking the wrong way. But that's okay. That's easy to fix. something of that nature will do the trick. So why did I do all that? Well, so that I can go ahead and I'm going to combine this, this, and this all into one shot. So the way we're going to achieve that is to take the sketch, just select these, and we're going to render the selected keyframes using the command line, and then we'll bring them into, I'd say Tahoma. Let's bring them into Tahoma and rock and roll. So, anything going on in the chat? Nothing going on in the chat. Got 2 viewers, and just like yesterday, ain't nobody talking. That's okay. Alright, waiting for Tahoma. This is going to be shot number 03-94L. Boom. And then what we'll do is just go to the RAM disk and drag this in, and Tahoma should interpret it properly as a image sequence. So we got that. I'm gonna say we'll give it 2 frames, enough here to digest, and then presumably we'll hold on the kids for a bit. So let's see if that feels all right. Okay, there's definitely things that need fixing. Tia's head, for example, is kind of whacked, but that's okay. Keep rocking here. All right, so B key. I think what I'm going to do is actually make this. I'm going to put another extra tween in there. So what I think I'll do is put a drawing here. Boop. And then we'll back up 1 step and that's not what I want. Honestly, I've been digging what I'm getting out of my so-called pencil brush more. So the only downside with it is it does, in some circumstances, make your fill operations a little trickier. A little tricky. So, got some pretty serious squash and stretch going on here, obviously. Okay. So, that's typically what we're going to get with monkeys. So now what I'm going to do is we could do it this way. Just take this and now hit the D key. And then this one, grab the selection tool, smack it down there, and now, boop. Yeah, there's just something about being able to scribble a little bit and dial it in at the inking stage that I just like for some reason. Now, if this was a different kind of show, I probably wouldn't want to do it this way. But this, it is supposed to be more or less informed by anime type aesthetics. There's going to be some hand painting involved, but that's okay because it's really only going to be 1 frame that's a pain. That was a little sloppy. Okay, so think about this for half a second. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually, let's do it this way. Okay, so now this can be, well, that's not quite what we had in mind, but that's too thick. Okay, the reason I'm doing that, in fact, this could be here. This part, however, should probably be on a different layer, or as Tahoma calls it, a level. Why? So that we can do this. Do we want to do 3? We can always cut it out, right? So we'll let it hold for 1 frame and then let it bounce back. So we'll let it hold. So the timing of this may not be right. We'll see. Delete. Oops. Okay. Pop. Yeah, not bad. Now the problem we're going to have here, to the astute observer, is that we really should double that. Okay. Now we have to erase a little bit. Clean that up. So yeah, that's just so that in isolation this will still fill. So what is it? Control, yeah, Control tilde. So now we're back here. Do we put that on a separate level? I think not. Okay. This guy, probably turn it down a bit. Poof. Good old monkey, always saving the day. That's going to be down. Boom. And boom. Okay. And by the way, going back here, just generally suggest what's going on with the nuts in the bag. Okay, let's go here. And then we'll change the color to what it's supposed to be, which is a slightly blue cloth type color. Okay. We'll Control C that so that we put an instance of it in this palette as well, because we're going to need it for that. And actually this too. Cool. Alright, so here, let's just use the flesh tone for monkey. And we'll just kind of find the color we're looking for. Whoops. Looks like we sprung a leak. Well, that's what I said. I said we're probably going to have to do some hand painting, so yeah, the problem is that this, I don't think this will work. Let's try this. It did work. So what I said the other day about this, I guess, was wrong. It used to be the case that the Smart Raster Paint tool would not create fillable borders, and now it does seem to. So I guess that's another case of kudos to John, if I'm saying that correctly, the developer, for fixing that, because it was a long-standing problem. So F key, V key, just to get that all cleaned up, and then we're going to add a copy of that color, a little more to the yellow and a little lighter, and that's what we'll use for this. We can always change the color after the fact, so no big deal. Okay, let's see if that fills. Nope. Yeah, see, I don't know what the parameters are. It could be changing the threshold makes a difference. I don't know. It's, oops, I think I just hit the B key. I meant to hit the V key. Because that's, I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's basically it. Meaning, if I use the Smart Raster Paint tool to draw this shape, will it fill? No. And yet, a moment ago, it did. So, I don't know why it doesn't. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Got no clue, friends. And since it literally takes 1 second to do it the hard way. Now, what you could do, of course, is this is set to under all. So theoretically, if I use the brush, it's going to draw underneath the ink lines. So I don't actually even need that. All I need to do is actually close that right there. And then it should fill. Yep, see, there you go. So we'll do it that way. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. B key. Close the obvious gaps. Again, okay, so this is actually wrong. Let me see something here. Okay, so draw order under all. Well, it is on the lowest point on the palette. So if anybody has any insight, let me know. Under all does not appear to do what it would suggest, which is that whatever you draw is going to be under whatever was already there. So again, not a big deal, but it doesn't quite behave the way I would have expected. Okay, and then we need this here. Okay, and then obviously here what we want to do is just hit the B key and insert a blank frame so that we switch shots. Alright, let's save our work. And now we need to get the kids in there, so let me think about this for a minute. I am going to put them on a separate layer. Because I might have to, especially Luca, I'm probably going to have to animate Luca's arm. He's going to, that's a classic example of plastic tool being the right tool for the job. So let's put Luca on his own layer. And while we're here, we'll just name our layers a bit. I'm going to keep referring to them as layers even though they're actually levels because I don't care. Okay. Okay. Situations like this, always good to flip your canvas. Okay, now his mouth probably shouldn't be in the same layer. Okay, that obviously was a debacle. So we're not quite perfect here. I'm going to just see if we can dial this in a little bit. So, as you can see, it's not as powerful as, say, Liquify or sculpting in Blender, but it is a useful tool when you need it. So, boom. Okay. I don't think I'm going to be animating his eyebrows, and his little cap thingy should probably be... Nope. Boy, this is harder than you would think. This is where smoothing on your brush can definitely help. So we're going to do it this way. I don't usually do this, but like I said, when under some circumstances, it's the way to go. Alright, so I'm going to say, okay, let's... In fact, it's funny and kind of ironic that the most difficult thing to do is these large sweeping curves, just because I just can't get my arm to stay steady, right? Let me just kind of go in and chisel it a bit. Okay, so I believe Alt-0 is what I set. Yep, Alt-0 for me resets the screen. So now we can zoom in here and get back more into just, you know, the fun stuff. He has a belt. Not sure I love that, but that'll work. Kind of crazy how sloppy this is. Yeah, actually, I like the pose concept, but it makes him appear off balance a little bit. So I want to add slight curvature here, and then I'm still not happy with this. More like that, so that he's supporting his own weight. All right. Time is it? 1:15. That hand feels slightly too big to me. Slightly too big. Okay, so this is cool for Luca. Again, he's going to be bending into the shot vis-a-vis the plastic tool. So let's just go ahead and get him done right now. Let's do it. Let's go boom, 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 boom. Okay, we got a leak. That's all right. I suspect it's probably there. Yep. Groovy. Groovy. And we need one more color for his belt. Alright, now let's get the colors dialed in because they're a little off. His outfit's a little more saturated, or desaturated, I should say. Kind of like that. His skin tone is slightly slightly pushed to the yellow, slightly darker. This obviously needs to be kind of reddish. And I shudder to admit that what I've been doing actually is using this color for his eyebrows as well, even though it's probably wrong. Okay, pop, and go with bright red for a moment. This makes it easy to see what we're doing. Easy to see. Okay, so there's the whites of the eyes. Okay. X key, create a mesh, boom. Okay, so we're gonna want to put joints like kind of like that. We're going to want to have a bend region, so we need an extra there, and then probably we want to kind of protect this region. I'm kind of spitballing here. We'll see if it all works. Okay, but then this could go out here. And we want to keep this relatively stable as well. All right, so is it going to work? We'll find out. Let's find out right now. Okay, well, it worked pretty well, other than I forgot this little detail. That's just to keep those pixels from moving. So that worked. We've got about that much range of motion, not too bad. Let's see what happens if we, we don't want to do that. If we were going to do anything with the head, we'd probably want to do this. But again, because of these, all right, let me change this a bit. The nice thing is you can change it after the fact. I'm just basically too rigid. I went too far in protecting the things that I don't want to have deform. Still no good. Here's how we can fix that, I think. Take this and actually have it grab there. Now that's going to be distorting. And I don't even know how much I'm going to be turning his head anyway, but yeah, so that gives me, it just gives me a little bit of wiggle room. Not too bad. This, that's basically perfect, isn't it? Okay, so we'll start out here. I'm going to do one other thing. Actually, here, I'm going to grab this and this. This is going to bleed off the screen, so I'm just going to kind of cheat a little bit here. No one's going to notice that little weirdness. Okay, so then what's he going to do? He's going to bend in. I'm putting in a little bit of intermediate motion so he can have a bit more of a recoil. All right, let's see what we've got. That's pretty good. Okay, so bump, and then I'm gonna say let's take this, Control C, give him about a half a second or 2/3 of a second. And then, as I say, a little bit of a recoil. Or you could even try this. That's fine. That's fine. Luke is good. All right, so let's deal with Tianara. B key. Honestly, Tia and Mel could probably be on their own layer. So we got 4 or 5 people watching. What the heck is going on out there, people? Alright, let's just start drawing. I'm just going to use the Smart Raster Paint tool to add the green in her eyes. And this is one of those places where you probably want to keep flipping the canvas if you don't have a good mirror drawing tool, which I think we actually do, now that I think about it. In Tahoma, I don't think I've ever used it, so I don't even know how to invoke the mirrors, symmetrical drawing tool. I do believe there's something like that here. No? Anybody know? Anybody out there know? Educate me, friends. Let me know. Okay. Boom. And stay with this. Stay with it. That's close enough. N key. Okay. So clearly, one thing that's worth noting is that this, well, okay, it doesn't want to let me grab 2 columns. So I'm going to move TNR back here because she should be under Lucas' hand, obviously. Okay, this is a little bit off. Yeah, that's better. Cool? I think so. Boom. I am just going to pretty much make this as blasé as possible. TNR is not really getting any attention in this shot, and she's just kind of part of the background, as it were. So, I do have a sense, however, that she is just slightly too large, I think. I like that better. Okay, so do we put Tia and Mel on the same layer? In this case, probably could. Wait a minute, let me think about this. Okay, so yeah, okay, so when this all takes place, you could have a shot of the kids kind of, Lucas says monkeys are backup plan. So you could have the kids then sort of look at each other and smile like, ah, I get it, haha, great, on to the next sequence of the show. Or, he says, monkeys are backup plan, and as soon as he finishes that, it cuts back to this shot and fades to black. That's obviously way less work. I think it gets the idea across quite nicely, so I'm not going to do a bunch of extra animation on the kids just so I can say I did it. So, therefore, making sure I got the right layer and grabbed here. Okay, so B key, need a little bit of that. So, point of the story being, Tia and Mel are going to be on the same layer, therefore, well, reverse that. Tia and Mel are not going to be moving. Therefore, there's no reason to put them on separate layers. Okay. Nobody's chatting today. I'll bet you I'm being visited by bots. I'll bet you that's what's going on. I don't even have any people watching my live stream. I just have bots watching me, probably. It's all just a crazy illusion. I'm popular now. No, actually, you're not popular at all. You're just being hounded by opportunistic robots. Hounded, I say. Well, we'll let the robots be stupid. I, in the meantime, am going to do what I do. Remember, there's... Well, okay, that's not quite right. I mean, what's cleaner burning fuel than creating intellectual property, after all? You know? You're creating something from nothing, and if people enjoy it, they'll watch it. And if they don't have to watch it. So you're not really doing any harm, right? Like so many of the things we spend money on. Hey, now we're up to 5 people watching. I know you're thinking, you're going, okay, this is like the coolest thing ever. Like one guy all by himself making a whole TV show. Like nobody does that. It is cool. But it's not the kind of thing people generally want to watch. So I'm not really sure why, because I would watch it. That's why I started doing this live stream, several years ago. Because what it is, which is actually the real behind the scenes of a real cartoon, doesn't exist as far as I know. I mean, most of that type of content is totally curated, because what it is, it's like in the old days with the DVDs. You have the behind the scenes stuff, like on any CGI movie or something like that, right? And the behind the scenes stuff is really carefully crafted to make it sound like, this was so hard to do, so massive, so big, but thank God we've developed the technology to be able to render hair or whatever. I mean, it's all just so amazing and difficult and expensive. But the point being that when you get the behind the scenes on this type of thing, which you get it never ceases to amaze me actually in that regard, is that if you find something on YouTube about the behind the scenes from a cartoon, invariably what they're going to do is a bunch of content about the voice actors. It's like all the human stuff, which is important. It's obviously very important. And it's very cool. The one thing they never show is this. Never. Like I've never found one instance of it. I don't think. No, I want to see the guy who, he's got a storyboard or some kind of spec for what his shot needs to be that he's going to animate, and then you sit there and you watch him literally from start to finish. Like, what does he think about? Okay, what are the ways we could approach this? And I think the story here is that it's a fairly you do have to think it through quite a lot. You have to kind of plan, and then the work itself is slow-ish to do, I would say. I actually think this might be a bad idea. I'm thinking. So anyway, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I started showing this because no one else would. And what I think I've learned is no one shows that because the truth is nobody actually wants to see it for the most part. And I'm not crying about that, right? I'm not bemoaning that. I found it interesting. It actually surprised me a bit, but probably shouldn't have, since probably the whole reason I couldn't find that content is because nobody's doing it because I'm dumber than them, and I'm doing something nobody wants to watch. So N key. Okay, so this is flipped. So okay, this will be probably okay, something like that. And it's not like it matters one way or the other, actually. As I've mentioned here before, as far as I can tell, there's no correlation at all between the what happens on YouTube versus the viewership of the show. Well, in fact, as my new follower who showed up the other day said, I can't remember the name, but he said he was from Argentina, and I was shocked when he said, he's like, "What are you working on here?" You know, it's like a new guy. So I told him what I'm, this is what it is. It's this show. And he's like, "Oh, I know that show." Which really surprised me. It's like, are you serious? Like, somebody from Argentina is like aware of my show? That's kind of weird. All right, let's go boom, boom, and boom, boom. Frankly, I ain't gonna lie. This is probably one of those quintessential cases where everything's fine now. Okay, so what I just removed was what was egregious. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back here to the pencil test. And let's see. I mean, black's okay. I'm looking at why am I moving my mouse and nothing's happening? Nothing's happening there. Is it turned off? It's not turned off. I mean, it is very, very transparent, but why aren't my brushes working? What am I missing here? I have absolutely no idea. This doesn't have its... Well, let's try a regular brush. Oh, wait! Okay, I think I was on the freehand path tool. Or, I mean, sorry. Get my terminology mixed up. I think I was on the Smart Raster paintbrush. Yep, there we go. That being set to 3 is not great. Okay, so anyway, all I was doing here is I'm wanting to sketch it in. I want to sketch it in and really get the layout better. I wasn't loving what I was seeing there. Okay, so now we got kind of this arc of the body, and his center of gravity is like right here. That's better. Okay, so now we can turn this back down and then use that as a guide to do the ink a little bit better. Oh, we got some comments. Hey, Amar. I've seen him and a few other people that do the live streams, the animation projects they're working on. Not the same directly as a TV show, but similar. Meat Canyon Live streams his webisodes on Twitch, behind the scenes. Well, there you go. I figured probably someone does. Let's see. Okay, that's Monkey. Where am I supposed to be here? I guess I'm supposed to be here. Okay, good. Boom, boom. Well, and my whole point was, it's people don't really want to watch this that much, and that's not particularly surprising, so no big deal. No big deal, friends. We're changing the world one pencil stroke at a time. One pencil stroke at a time. Okay, so there is nothing else on this layer, so we might as well see what leaks we're going to spring here. Okay, so obviously this layer should be here. So that Monkey is in front. Sehr gut. Okay, so Mel, his skin tone's generally pretty close. T is going to be pushing more towards the olive kind of thing. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and do her garment. Might as well, since we're here. I do believe it had a slightly blue, but mostly gray. We definitely don't want the saturation to be too hot. So now we can just turn it down a little bit, and then boom, boom. That's going to be her hair, which is, let me find the basic color range. Her hair has been a bit all over the map, I must say. But that's pretty darn close, right there. Could maybe do a little more saturation. Yeah, I mean, that's okay. All right, and since we're here, let's go ahead and deal with the whites of the eyes. If you're wondering, well, wait, why would you paint the whites of the eyes red? Wait a minute. Stop everything. I'm using the Smart Raster Paint tool, and it is set to areas. Oh. Maybe I'm imagining things. I thought it was covering up the pupil. I'm like, that's not right. It shouldn't be covering anything up. Okay. And by the way, I'm going to make a copy of that for her bindi. So that's going to be more like something like that. This is, of course, going to be, it's the whites of her eyes. So you don't want them to be actually white, but... All right, V key, blah, 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 blah. All right, whites of the eyes. As long as we're talking about it, let's do it. Okay. This color we're not currently using, so boop, we'll put it there, and that's going to be right about there. And then for Mel's garment, basically a little darker version of that color gives you the rest of his outfit. This color can be used for those. Typically a little less saturated. There you go. Okay. I don't like having to scroll this. Not at all. Not at all. Alright, so we'll do Mel's hair. Ploof, 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 ploof. And then we'll kind of punch that up a bit. Alright, so what are we doing here? Let's put the fill tool in freehand mode so I can just kind of go in and pick up some of these little sundries that are not looking quite right. I am thinking that probably I am going to want to I'll probably bring this into Krita for some tint color and whatnot. Okay, hello? Why won't that fill? I don't know why that won't fill. And so, because I'm feeling impatient at the moment, I'm actually going to do the impatient thing, which is to just hand paint it so it's done. Okay, oops. Got a little excited there, friend. A little excited. Someone got excited, had to call the state militia. I want to move, playing in a traveling band. Yeah. Flying across the land, trying to get a hand, playing in a traveling band. Wow! All right. Sometimes it's therapeutic to just slow down and hand paint. Just hand paint. Just do what you do. Make a little magic. All right. What do we got? Let's turn on monkey and see how things are flowing. Okay. Okay. I forgot about Luca's mouth. Okay, so now you guys know the routine. If you're going to add a mouth, we insert Okay, I did not mean to do that. I need to be clicking there. Okay. All right, so the key thing with lip sync, if you're using the plastic tool, is hit F3 and you need to detach Luca from the plastic tool while I do the lip sync, so that I can then include the mouth in the lip sync. All right, so B key, boof, and it doesn't matter what color we use. And I'm actually going to just use the Smart Raster paintbrush. I definitely don't like, I do not like the roughness of it. I'm sure it looks fine rendered at full size. As you can see, you can't see the squiggliness of it, but it is. Okay, stop here for just a moment. Why? Oh, jeez. Are you kidding me, Tahoma? Okay. Sorry, guys. What's going on, you ask? It turns out, Tom, I will tell you that if I were you, I would pass this on to Madam John, which is this. You know how when you start painting, it automatically creates a keyframe? I'm just going to say, my opinion is, when I use the Smart Raster Paint tool, that should happen as well. That would be nice, because there's a lot of situations, especially with lip sync, where it would be kind of nice to. So anyway, if you want to pass that on, it's just a suggestion. I think it would definitely be kind of positive for some things. Like shadows. For example, if you're doing shadows, you don't want to use a vector layer to create closed shapes. A really easy way to do shadows is to use the Smart Raster Paint tool and just go like this. You know, it works really well. But if it won't automatically, I mean, admittedly, all you got to do is hit the D key or click or something and create a keyframe. But it seems to me that the Smart Raster paintbrush should create keyframes the same as the regular brush does. Just one man's opinion. Just one man's opinion. So for now, what I'll do is I'll just use the regular brush. So I hit the B key. Monkeys. Our back. I know that's in the wrong place. A little bit large, a little bit large. That's all right though. We'll just shrink it down a bit. Okay, so these, oh yeah, I didn't really quite draw that as well as I should have. I don't like that either. You would think this would be like the easiest thing in the world. Okay, so let's check the timing on it, I guess. I didn't even see it. I didn't get it switched quick enough. Monkeys are backup plan. Perfect. Okay, so with that, what we're going to do is take the mouth and change this color to the more appropriate color. So it sits in the mix nicely. Okay, so now here's where the magic happens. Is we're going to take, okay, actually let's do this. Let's change that to mouth so that we actually can look for it and find it in the schematic. So there's the mouth. The mouth needs to go through the plastic tool, and then we already knew that Luca's going to go through the plastic tool. Cool? And so now, almost like magic, Monkey's our backup plan. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to repeat. So actually here, let me think about this. I need to make sure I give enough time. What's our backup plan? Pop. Right there. So let's do it on frame 16 just because it's a nice even number. On frames, or I'm sorry, 16. It's the screen's a little fuzzy. It's frame 36. Sorry. Okay. So we got this. Control C. Let's go to frame 36. Copy it in. Okay. The bag, wherever it actually landed, Control C. Okay. Undo. I think I hit Control V when I meant to hit Control C. Okay. Control V. In the Luca layer, hit the B key. Oh, we can't hit the B key. What we'll do, actually, you know what we'll do? Let's just turn off implicit hold and do a little quick cleanup so that we don't need implicit hold. And then we're set. Okay, so this, I'm just going to actually move it over to another column so it doesn't ripple at it. And then move it back. Very, very clever. Didn't know you could do that. Yep, you can do that. Just move it out of the way. Here, oh, sorry, didn't mean to do that. Click, click, click. Okay, and these guys, yes, these guys should be stretched down to here. I guess I don't need to deal with that. Okay. So then, what is, actually, Tom would remember. There's something about fill in empty cells. There we go. Very good. Okay. So that works. Do that. Blah, 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 blah. That's very useful. Very useful. All right. I think we're there. Then this. Right. This should be delete that and delete that. And delete that. And this would then extend to 42. Actually, it's going to extend further than that because once we go to this, it's got to dissolve out. So let's just go whole hog here and take it up to like, I don't know, 60, I think. Let's find out. Put a link. All right. Boom. Fade. Yep, that'll work. Okay, save our work. Save all. A toggle option. I think that is an option. Right click, look at the context menu. Okay, yeah, I will. Didn't think of that. So I guess what I'll do is I'll just go down here, hit the Smart Raster Paint tool, and I guess I need to be on a level that is in fact paintable. And okay, so I'm going to go here, and you're saying right click, look at the context menu. So the only context menu that would seem to make sense would be this. Toggle orientation. Wonder why. I don't know what that is. So that's going to create a... So I don't see anything that relates to the idea of auto creation. Well, if you happen to know, or find out, just let me know. Toggle creation in hold cells. But is that specific? I mean, that does work with the brush. I mean, if I hit the B key and start drawing here, it will create a keyframe. So that's already working. But toggle creation hold cells. Okay, all right, I'll do what you say. Toggle creation hold cells and toggle auto creation is already activated. This is actually what I was talking about a few weeks ago. You've got toggle implicit hold. If you turn it on here and turn it off here, I guess it does turn it off everywhere, so there really is only one implicit hold option. Okay, so we have a stray line right there. Is that in my drawing? Yep, sure is. Okay, got that fixed. Very good. Control Shift R. Might as well render it, pop it into the show, and then we'll deal with the. I'm actually going to take a break, wrap it up. I'm actually trying to work on my code for Tahoma2D. Can you ask your full question? Sure. Yes. Yes. Right now, I mean, for you as doing development stuff, I would say this: when you use a brush and you're anywhere in the X sheet and you start drawing, as you know, of course, auto creation means it's going to create a drawing. Okay. Auto creation hold cells, I assume, is an option that's peripheral to what we're talking about. That probably is a holdover from an earlier version of Tahoma where auto creation worked, but if you were in a cell that already was stretched, it wouldn't work. What would happen is it would change this drawing. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. So what I'm saying is, whatever happens in the code, if this is invoked and I hit the B key and draw something, as you know, it's going to create a drawing. All I'm saying is, wherever that happens in the code that creates that new drawing, when you're using the B key / brush, should also happen when you're using the V key / smart raster paintbrush. That makes sense to me. And the biggest application where it would be really useful would be, and the main reason it's useful is because you can obviously create a brush. I mean, I've got one around here somewhere that has, a lot of pressure variability for width, okay? But just because the way I have my situation set up, when I want that, I tend to use the Smart Raster paintbrush, just because that's the way I have it set sort of by default. So if we go in here and I hit the V key, the ability to do that is something I find useful. Yes, of course, you can set up a brush so it does the same thing. But that's why I use it. So that means where it's useful is for shadows and mouth. When I'm doing shadows and mouths, the fastest way to do it is to just, over top of the character, just paint those shadows in, right, like that. Now, at the end of the day, if you really want feature requests, personally, I think if we had the ability. Actually, let me just make sure I'm not talking over myself. So now you understand what I was talking about. The Smart Raster Paint tool should create a new image. Yeah, at least the option to do so is what I think. That's my opinion. Other people may have a different opinion about it for one reason or another that I'm not aware of. Okay. What was the other thing? Oh, to me, one of the most glaring omissions for sure, and I would put it in the Smart Raster levels, and the brush, is the ability to draw a shape and have it just be automatically filled. The ability to just draw closed shapes of color would be nice. Of course, we can already do it with vectors, but to me, that would be something that would be like truly useful, right? So anyway, all right, I gotta go. I'm a little over time, and so as you guys know, there will be more later.